Hello, welcome back to Miles Edgeworth Investigations. I'm Louis Van 64D. Gumshoe is still not in the clear, so we need to investigate this last place. What is this incredibly overpowering sweet scent? It smells like flowers. Uncle Bad, is this it? Isn't that Detective Bad and Kay over there? It looks like she managed to escape the bailiff. No, that's not quite it. Oh, too bad. That's so pretty. I think you're still a bit too young to wear that. But since you found it, I guess I can let you keep it. Thanks! I'll treasure it always! Those two seem to get along rather well. Oh yeah, I got something else for you. Yay! Thank you, Uncle Bad! Earlier I ate one of these with gummy. Gummy? Ah, gumshoe. Gummy is... He was trying to be nice to me because I was going to get in trouble. And then he got in trouble because he lied to protect me. Gummy! I know he didn't kill Daddy. Don't cry. But it would be sad if you saw him cry. I'm not crying! Okay. Oh! This is Mr. from before and the lady, too! Don't you think it would be a good idea to go home for the time being? You're not involved in the investigation, so it's for the best if you do. Actually, I'm Uncle Bad's assistant. So I'm relieved of the investigation. Is that so, Detective Bad? Yeah, I guess. What? You were just scolding us like kids and to not mess up the crime scene. And now you let this child run free? Why? People are free to investigate things outside the actual crime scene. You also have a few things you want to look into. If I don't have a problem with that, well, I don't have a problem with that, but I'm curious as to what Miss Yu is looking into. Uncle Bad, I gotta go look elsewhere now, okay? Alright. I'm counting on you. Huh, that's right! Hey, mister! Yes, what is it? I know Gummy isn't really the bad guy. I mean it. So please, find the real bad guy, okay? I won't forgive whoever did this. But in the absence of the perfect piece of testimony and evidence, there is no one else who could be the true culprit other than Detective Gumshoe. She wanted off while I was pondering. Huh. Well then. Detective Bad, what exactly was Kay searching for? Nothing that concerns you, boy. Oh, I suppose it has something to do with Kay? It does, because she's Faraday's daughter. Anyway, hurry up and get to the point. I don't have time to waste. It sounds like he'd rather be left alone. I have something I'd like to confirm with you once again. I do not see you. Be that as it may, we must still have questions that we need answers to. Now then, first of all, what is the overpowering smell that's permeating this room? Upon entering this room, I thought I was going to suffocate. It's the ultra-strong perfume you wears. She spilled some of it. I was having a bad time myself. I didn't think twice and opened the window. But that smell's still here. Perfume, huh? So the sweet scent of the air is perfume. Oh, it's giving quite off quite the stench. I bet it's some cheap no-name brand. She said it's a famous brand from overseas. It's a knockoff. Yes, definitely a knockoff. No disrespect, but she forced one of those bottles on me. Here, girl, you can have it. I was born from a much more expensive and refined perfume. However, seeing as you just happen to have a spare, I suppose I will take it. Miles Edgeworth, you will hold on to this bottle without fail. Why can't she ever be honest about what she wants? So now we have the perfume Miss Yu wears. Just fantastic. Is that all you wanted to talk about? If so, I'm going back to this. Actually, I still have a few other things I wish to inquire about. About the recess. So you were in this room the entire recess? Like I said, I made a call to the precinct to get that big lug down. But other than that, I was waiting for the recess to end. At least your story is consistent. Earlier you stated that you were in this lobby with Miss Yu. Yeah, I ran into her in the hallway. She said she wanted to talk to me about something, so we came in here. Then what were you saying is that until Detective Gumshoe's arrival, you and Miss Yu were in 2 different locations? Yes, I am. Interesting. Speaking of that lawyer, she seems to have a great dislike for you. Let's see. Miss Yu is the sister of the victim of the KG-8 incident. And, as I recall, Detective Bad was the lead detective on that case. I wonder if the reason for her disdain isn't simply because you failed to guard Cece, but because you were the lead detective on the case. You knew. I also know what today's trial involving the Gaddafian embassy staff member is being referred to as the second KG-8 incident. Now then, Detective, I believe it's time you were honest with me, and told me the truth behind your relationship with Miss Yu and Mr. Faraday, and the KG-8 incident. If you already know that much, I guess it'd be alright to tell you. Now then, I'd like to ask you a few questions about the KG-8 incident. Not exactly a happy story, other than the people who were directly involved. You two will be the first to hear what I'm about to tell. The honest truth behind the KG-8 incident. Faraday, you and I, as you already know, we 3 were involved in the KG-8 incident. Faraday and I, we were originally in the trail of a smuggling ring. You mean the smuggling case involving one of the Amano Group's secretaries? That trial was just a front. A facade? Yeah. But the case became tainted. All because the witness who was going to testify about the Amano Group's ties to the smuggling ring, CCU, was killed. Then what became of the secretary who was arrested? His name was Colin Devery. To be honest, the guy didn't know a thing about the smuggling ring. But he confessed to knowing about it anyway. Devery was probably being intimidated by the big boss man. Just another scapegoat. The boss man of the Amano Group? He can't seriously mean Mr. Ernest Amano. That can't be right. It's probably just Detective Bad's personal hypothesis. What is he trying to do, suspecting Mr. Amano of being involved with smuggling? I suppose it would have been quite difficult to secure an acquittal after he confessed. But the man who killed CCU, Manny Cochin, was a completely different person. But since he's already been acquitted once of her murder, Mr. Faraday, how could you have let him go? If I remember correctly, I heard that Mr. Faraday had an important piece of evidence stolen from him. That wasn't Faraday's fault. It was mine. Wasn't vigilant enough. Faraday, CC, I was supposed to protect them both. Miss Yu did mention that as well, about how Detective Bad was supposed to guard her sister. But even I was supposed to protect them. I fell into the trap. What kind of a trap? The holes in this jacket are a testament to that trap. You mean you were fired upon? You were shot at that many times with one gunfight? No. Only about half of these are from that case. But the reason I continue to wear this jacket is to remind myself. The lessons I learned from the KG8 incident. I see. I couldn't protect CCU, and the suspect was found not guilty. We had hit a brick wall, as far as the law is concerned. And that's when she came to the courtroom, the victim's sister. That's when I first met Callisto. About when you first met Miss Yu, it was on the day the verdict for the KG8 incident was handed down, was it not? Yes. Faraday and I, we apologized to her from the bottom of our hearts. It was all we could do, but just saying you're sorry won't bring my sister back, she said. And then she gave me a hard slap across my face. Well, she certainly had a lot of self-control to stop with just a slap. If it was me, not even 100 lashes would have been punishment enough. I suppose not. You said it herself. That she never wanted to see either of us ever again. But after that, you've seen her many times over, correct? Yeah. Faraday and I. Even after the KG8 incident had come to a close, we continued to hunt down the smoking ring. We got involved in a variety of cases. But it was no use. We cracked so many different cases. But the result was always the same. We couldn't find the real mastermind behind the ring. Is the ring really that big? It was in the pursuit of the ring. We met you once again. It was during another trial related to the smuggling ring. Faraday was the prosecutor, and I, the lead detective, took to the witness stand. She appeared out of the blue as the defense attorney. Her client was related to the smuggling ring, and she was defending them? Yeah. You was pursuing the ring as best she could as a lawyer. I think she defended Rail this time for the same reason. Come to think of it, Miss Yu did say something to that same effect. I have my own agenda. I'm still on the hunt for leads regarding the KG8 incident, alright? And for that, you have not a single qualm about defending a known killer? Don't put words in my mouth. I said no such thing. The only way I had to get close to Mr. Rel was to be his lawyer. I had no intention of covering for him. Ever. So don't you dare suggest I was going to. Huh. It doesn't matter what her reason is. Helping a criminal is just despicable. You're so naive. You could have stolen his lollipop from you. That's just how naive you are. How dare you insult the daughter of the Von Karma? Just like us, you felt that she had to hit the limit of what the law could do. That's all. The law is merely a tool. There is no limit to it. Only the skill of the craftsman. You two are still too young. One day you'll know what I mean. But enough sidetracking. What matters is that we met you again in pursuit of the smuggling ring. That's all. What about Faraday? What was your relation to Mr. Faraday? You even seem to know Kay fairly well. I met him when he was a rookie prosecutor. Known him ever since. And Kay, I've known her since the day she was born. Faraday and I, we cracked quite a few cases together. But you two seem to have made no progress at all towards the Yatagarasu case. Did we touch a nerve? I only have one thing to say to you. No one knew more about the Yatagarasu than me and Faraday. That's why I was called upon to testify in today's court. To prove the Rel was not the real Yatagarasu. Which I would have done. he hadn't turned around and accused Faraday. After the accusation, I was asked to testify, but this time to prove or disprove the accusation. But I guess I won't be doing that either. I sense that there's more to that statement than meets the eye. Perhaps a bit more digging into this Yatagarasu is what's necessary. What is the Yatagarasu? You claim to know much more about the Yatagarasu. Would you care to share what you know with me? What you two should be looking for right now is proof of murderous intent towards Faraday and Rel. I agree, which is exactly why I'm asking you about the Yatagarasu. The KG-8 incident and this second KG-8 incident, both of these cases are tied to the smuggling ring. And in both of these cases, the witness who was to testify about the ring was murdered. However, there is one point in which they differ, and that is the presence or absence of the great thief Yatagarasu. Mr. Rel claimed to be the Yatagarasu. However, in the middle of the trial, he suddenly declared Mr. Faraday to be the real Yatagarasu. Then, during the recess, they were both killed. Don't you find that to be the least bit odd? Miles Edgeworth, stop beating around the bush and just spit it out already! I believe that there must be some reason that the two men suspected of being the Yatagarasu were both killed at the same time. A reason. And so, in order to catch Mr. Faraday and Mr. Rel's cold-blooded killer, I feel that I need to learn as much as I can about the Yatagarasu. If it'll help you solve this case. And I'll tell you the reason why you never caught the Yatagarasu. What was that all sudden outburst for? You almost made me whip you by accident. Ah! It still accidentally whipped me anyway. There are three main reasons why the Yatagarasu will always be one step ahead. First, the Yatagarasu always knows the exact location of the target object. Second, the Yatagarasu always knows exactly how to disarm the security system. Third, the Yatagarasu doesn't leave a single shred of evidence behind, ever. I see. So these are the Yatagarasu's special traits. Sounds like an incredibly elusive thief. Yatagarasu has never been caught on tape. Never tries to draw anyone's attention. He would never do something as lowbrow as to commit murder. That's how I knew Rel wasn't the real Yatagarasu that way. But you can't use that sort of logic on its own to prove that he wasn't. Listen, I'm not done talking yet. What's different about this time was that evidence related to the smuggling ring was sent to the police. And then the sender was none other than the one who infiltrated the Gaddafian embassy. Yatagarasu. The Yatagarasu sent the evidence? Until now, Yatagarasu would always publicize any corrupt dealings through the mass media. But not this time. The evidence this time was something only Faraday and I, and a select few others, knew about. And in that case, how can you be so sure that it was the Yatagarasu who sent it? That's easy. The special card that only the Yatagarasu uses was attached. That's how I can be so sure. And just what sort of card is it? Here, take a look at this article. Whenever the Yatagarasu wants to publicize something, a white card is sent along with the stolen information. But when we questioned Rel about what this sent along with the white card, Rel had no idea what it was. And that's how Detective Bad knew that Mr. Rel was a phony. Thank you very much. I have a much better understanding of the Yatagarasu now. Excuse me, Mr. Edgeworth. Yes? His Honor would like to transfer the evidence from today's trial over to you. So if you could please head over to the courtroom, it'd be much appreciated, sir. Understood. I'll be there shortly. Detective Bad, what does the law mean to you? Finding the answer to that question He's the only reason I'm still alive. I became a prosecutor to find the answer to that question myself. I had to play a part in ensuring that all criminals everywhere are found guilty. Open him a drink. Oh, it's you, Mr. Edgeworth. Oh. It appears that his honor is still a bit dispirited. For the first time today, I experienced what it's like to stand in the witness stand. I now have a greater appreciation for just how hard it is to give testimony. Well, there's no reason for you to be all depressed about it, Your Honor. As a judge, no one expects you to think about anything other than the verdict. Francisca, there's no need to further depress his honor. But I'm not trying to, Miles. Your Honor. Your Honor, I've come to collect the evidence that was to be transferred to me. Your Honor, the evidence. Your Honor! Oh! You! Yes, can I help you? Oh. I'd like to collect the evidence now, sir. Your Honor. Do you think you can stay focused long enough to at least do your job? Yes! I'm sorry. And I would, except the defense attorney is yet to arrive. She's busy with the investigation. So let's keep this brief, shall we? Very well. In that case, please confirm that all the pieces of evidence are present. Furthermore, the evidence that was used in the murders of Mr. Faraday and Mr. Rell are also included, so please go ahead and use them in your investigation case. Understood, Your Honor. The pieces of evidence that were used in the murder of those two men. This could be a very good chance for me to find new leads regarding that case. And maybe even something that will finally lead me to the truth. I'll place all the evidence over at the prosecutor's bench for you. I see. Thank you very much. I'll go and confirm that they're all accounted for. Evidence of misuse prepared is just sitting there on the table. You know you can't just walk off with it, right? Of course I do! Miss Yu must have been caught off guard by her client's sudden accusation. I wonder how she would have defended Mr. Rell in the case if he was still alive. I suppose I'll never know. So this is the evidence related to today's Gaddafian embassy trial, Mr. Faraday's bag. You mean the evidence bag was on the table in lobby number 2, right? Yes. Finally, we can now take a look at the evidence itself, and not just data about them. Let's be sure to thoroughly examine them while we have the time. Agreed. I want to take a good look at all the evidence from the embassy murder, too. And why is that? Because I still don't fully understand what today's trial was about! Ugh. Don't point your work problem at me, just because you don't know something. Also, you're facing the wrong way. Don't you try to order me around just because Papa chose you today. I see someone still sore about not being picked by Mr. Von Karma. It's also real to see a knife up close. So, we have the knife, the gun, an envelope. What's this organizer doing here? Oh, that's right! I completely forgot to tell you. About what, Your Honor? They found Mr. Faraday's personal organizer inside the evidence bag of his. Detective Bad requested it be passed along to you. He said I could help the investigation. Detective Bad said that? What a strange stroke of luck. Well, never looked a gift horse in the mouth. Might as well flip through it too. Oh, gotta suspect every suspicious looking cranny. The knife. Okay, my mistake. I meant, the knife. It's the knife that was used to kill Mr. Faraday. Who would have thought that such a beautiful piece of art could have been used for such a cruel act? Has it ever crossed your mind that you use your riding crop for the wrong purpose? Gun. This gun was originally used to kill the Gaddafian embassy staff member. When the crime was reported, the responding police found Mr. Rell still holding it, which led to his immediate arrest. And then, this gun took the original shooter's life. How ironic. Indeed. Doesn't seem to be anything else we can learn from this piece of evidence. Organizer. Mr. Faraday's organizer. It appears he was still in the habit of using it. It looks like he wrote his strategy for getting Mr. Rell convicted right down in here. Collected the evidence I need to prove that Mr. Rell was the killer. Between the handgun Rell had on and he was arrested with Rell's tape. It appears Mr. Faraday honestly believed Mr. Rell was the killer in this case. Handgun going off was recorded with superb clarity in surveillance video. Evidence I can use to prove he's not the Yatagarasu. It would also appear that he had proof he was not the Yatagarasu. He was a phony. He went in court. And he apparently also had a very definitive piece of evidence. I believe that Mr. Faraday was well prepared to discredit any claim Mr. Rell may have made about being the real Yatagarasu. And he'd had a way to prove that Mr. Rell was the guilty party for the embassy murder. This organizer is a clue straight from Mr. Faraday. I'll have to take my time and give it a thorough read later. Look, there's a picture stuck between these pages. It appears to be a key. A rather ornate one, at that. Just look at the design of the handle. The craftsmanship is superb. Could this be the Yatagarasu's key Mr. Faraday mentioned as the organizer? Yatagarasu's key? Detective Bad said something earlier. What's different about this time? There's evidence related to the smuggling. It was sent to the police. And the sender was none other than the one who infiltrated the Kodafian embassy. The Yatagarasu. The Yatagarasu sent the evidence? Until now, the Yatagarasu would always publicize any corrupt dealings through the mass media. But not this time. The evidence this time was something only Faraday and I, just like a few others, knew about. Mr. Faraday must have been trying to keep this secret key safe. Mr. Faraday must have been trying to keep the secret key safe. As a prosecutor on both the Yatagarasu and smuggling ring cases, that's to be expected. Huh, that's odd. What is it? Mr. Faraday didn't mention anything about a knife in his organizer. That certainly is odd. The weapon that was used to kill the Kodafian embassy staff member was a gun. But if that's the case, then where did the knife that was used to murder Mr. Faraday come from? Isn't it obvious? It was brought in by the courthouse, Mr. Rell. That's the only logical conclusion, right? No, because it's not that easy to smuggle a weapon like that in here. Every person who enters the courthouse doors is checked thoroughly for contraband. Furthermore, this suspect was handcuffed, making it impossible for him to bring a knife as large as this inside. In that case, how do you suppose this knife ended up inside the courthouse? I need to think carefully here. There's nothing related to this knife written anywhere in the Faraday's organizer. However, it is a fact that this knife came from Mr. Faraday's evidence bag. Conversely, there is one item listed in Mr. Faraday's organizer that no one has claimed to have seen today. So in order to solve this mystery, I believe I will need to take another good look at the evidence. Miles Edgeworth, can I take the fact that you have yet to answer me to mean that you don't have the answer for me? Actually, I do know the answer, Francisca. What? Then what is it? One of the pieces of evidence we've been holding has been hiding a secret of its own. And it was through this piece of evidence that the knife was brought to this courthouse. Is it the key? Yatagarasu's key, Mr. Faraday mentions as organizer. This is how the knife was brought into the courthouse. You're not making any sense, Miles Edgeworth. You just needed to look at it a little closer, Francisca, to see what I mean. Don't the colors of the ornamentation of the key's handle remind you of anything? They do remind me of the knife. Very good. Both Yatagarasu's key and this photo, and the murderous knife, have this very unique design on their handles. Furthermore, even though Mr. Faraday mentions the Yatagarasu's key, the only object we found at the crime scene was the knife. You don't seriously mean to say... It appears that you've finally caught up. And yes, I do mean to say that these two pieces are in fact one and the same. But that's impossible! Even if that is what you believe, we should still investigate the possibility. Now then, let us examine this knife in a little more detail. It's a weapon that was used to kill Mr. Faraday. The handle and the blade itself both have a beautiful design worked into them. Oh, there's even a flower-shaped design in the gold section there. If this hadn't been used as a tool for murder, I'd want it for myself. This seems to be drawn to the embellishments. Too bad it wasn't mine to give. Let's go investigate a little further. Is there anything else we can do? Huh? I can't believe it turned into a key! To think there's such a trick to this thing! So the weapon used to kill Mr. Faraday was actually the key the Yatagarasu stole. This piece of information is more critical than anything we've learned up until now. This is our secret weapon, so to speak, figuratively. Frankly, I'm shocked. Mr. Faraday only mentioned the key aspect of this piece of evidence in his organizer. It's possible that even he had no idea the key was hiding a knife blade inside. But if that's true, then only someone who knew about the key to knife trick could have killed Mr. Faraday. Even among law enforcement, this key was top secret. We're looking for someone who knew even more about the key than even Mr. Faraday. Meaning that the only person it could be is the one who set the key in the first place. The great thief Yatagarasu. Then maybe Mr. Rel really was the Yatagarasu. And he was the one who killed Mr. Faraday. Isn't that one possible scenario? No, not really. Especially since Mr. Faraday was absolutely convinced that Mr. Rel was not the Yatagarasu. Besides, as Detective Bad said earlier, but when we questioned Rel about what was sent along with the white card, Rel had no idea what it was. I see. Alright then, I guess the person who knows the trick behind the key is someone else, and the other person is the real Yatagarasu. It seems that this key is truly the key to solving this case. Literally. So then what's in here? I took a quick look through these documents before the trial started. Well, I wasn't even afforded the opportunity to skim it. I suppose I should explain it to you then. Yes, you should. Perfectly, and in its entirety, if you please. On the night of September 8th, the staff member was killed in front of the embassy. The staff member died of shock due to being shot in the heart. Mac Rel was brought in that night as a suspect and thoroughly questioned, because the murder weapon was found on him, for which he was arrested on the spot. A simpleton of a man, that's what he was. Perhaps he was, for the weapon wasn't the only incriminating evidence we had. Mr. Rel was caught in the act on film by the security camera. He was an even bigger simpleton than I thought. I can't believe he didn't notice the security camera. The Gaddafian Embassy's security system was the Gaddafian Embassy's security system was supposedly very well designed. He may have simply not been aware that there was a camera in that area. So, have you seen the contents of the video for yourself? Yes, the surveillance video the security camera took was played during the trial by Mr. Faraday. We can clearly identify Mr. Rel on it. Even the sound of the gunshot was crystal clear. So the footage included sound, huh? I don't think I've ever wanted to see the moment of someone's death in real life. Me neither. Yet it happened. That's odd. We're short one piece of evidence. And that piece that's missing is the surveillance video that was played in court. Surveillance video? How could a piece of evidence just disappear? Where'd it go? The video showing the moment in which Mr. Rel committed the murder. Where could it have gone indeed? Are you done with your inspection of the evidence? Yes, I'm finished. However, Your Honor, I'm missing a single piece of prosecutorial evidence. Your Honor, were you derelict in your duties? What? No, I dare not neglect my duties. What do you take me for? No, Your Honor, the most important piece of evidence in today's trial The surveillance video is not among the evidence you laid out for me. But I brought Mr. Faraday's whole bag with me from the crime scene. Maybe the tape is still somewhere at the crime scene? There's something wrong here. Something about this missing piece of evidence. It would appear that for me to find the answers I seek, I'll have to pay another visit to the crime scene, defendant lobby number 2. He looks familiar. That's Detective Bad, but who is he with? I've never seen that officer before. So did you find it? No, not yet, and I looked everywhere. I see. Well, please continue with the search. Understood. I'll continue the search. So you're the one running the show? Prosecutors like you shouldn't be allowed at crime scenes. How dare you? Just who do you think you are? He walked off and didn't even answer me. What was that all about? And who was that man just now? Whoever he was, I've never seen a more impudent officer in my life. Wrong button. Does he even know we're standing right behind him? I know you're standing right behind me. What do you want? Kids. Looks like you were paying attention after all. Of course I was. I have eyes in the back of my head. Ah, so the mirror isn't for vanity's sake. It's for him to keep an eye on who or what is behind him at all times. A bit of a paranoia tick. So tell me, Detective Bad, who was that rude man just now? The guy came here from the Republic of Zek Fox study. He's Agent Lang. He's trying everything he can to revive the lost honor of his family. He's traveling the world, studied different philosophies and entertainment from scratch. By visiting various police departments around the world, he has a lot of dedication. He's still just a rookie cop, but I sense a strong grudge of some sort from him. The guy is more useful than Gumshoe, even if he is rude. Well, he sure has a lot of guts to come to this country and give prosecutors a hard time. I agree. However, I can think of one young lady that statement also applies to. Anyway, what was that agent looking for, Detective Bad? Earlier, the little girl was poking around in lobby number 1 as well. Like I said before, it's got nothing to do with the two of you. I highly doubt that he has nothing to do with me. Fine, if this is the game I must play, then I will take this opportunity to draw out what he's been hiding and what's happened in this room straight from him. What's this table here? Was this table here all along? I suppose so.
Objection!
Well, clearly it's out of place. When you take the sofa in consideration, the table is much too tall. I get the impression that the two are not meant to be used as a set, Franziska. I knew that. It seems she lost her calm sense of judgment and her eagerness to defeat me. Well, if I'm looking for a videotape, this TV comes to mind. That's the one tiny TV. Detective Gumshoe was rather shocked at this and said it was huge compared to his own. Anything compared to something he owns will always be seen grandiose. Speaking of grandiose, I see that ego of yours could use a little deflating. I guess I cannot investigate that anymore. Earlier you were in lobby number 1, and now you're here in lobby number 2. You were quite the busy man, Detective Bad. Multiple returns to a crime scene bring about success. That's what we detectives say. I see. In that case, you wouldn't mind if I asked her what happened again, correct? I don't have anything left to say. Boy! You'll see, I will draw my answer from you one way or another. Would it kill you to help us even a tiny bit of our investigation? I gave Faraday's notebook to the judge. That's help enough. Please, we're asking you just a bit more of your cooperation. Don't push me, kid. Just a bit more. I'd like to ask once again about what happened around the time here at the time of the crime. I refuse to answer. Any more investigating you do? Waste of time. Besides, how am I supposed to answer questions about things I don't know about? Things you don't know about? But aren't you supposed to know everything? He should. Wait, is it possible? Maybe he doesn't know about the trick behind that piece of evidence. I should try showing it to him. It may prove to be the key to getting some answers from Detective Bad. Let's show to him the key. Detective Bad, did you know about the existence of this item in this photograph? Of course I did. It's my job to know everything related to this Yatagarasu case. In that case, let me ask you something. Did you know that the knife that killed Yatagarasu and this Yatagarasu's fair that killed Mr. Faraday and this Yatagarasu's key are one and the same? What? That's impossible. Looks like he didn't know after all. His piece of evidence, which we call the Yatagarasu's key, is actually a well-camouflaged knife. Mr. Faraday was planning to use this Yatagarasu's key to prove that Mr. Rel was not the real Yatagarasu. Isn't that correct? I guess so. However, Mr. Faraday had no idea that it was, in fact, a knife. Yeah, and to admit, one of us knew that fact. If neither one of us knew, then no one in law enforcement knew either. How did we miss something as big as this? I noticed that since a little while ago, you appear to be searching for something. I presume that this key is what you've been searching for. Yeah, that's right. And why were you searching for it? Because I promised Faraday. I promised that I'd protect that key with my life. But after he was killed, the key disappeared from Faraday's arms bag. Who would have thought that the key is what took Faraday's life? Detective Bad? So that we may find the truth, please testify for me once more. Alright. But it doesn't matter how many times I tell you about what happened. Nothing will change. I don't know. Faraday. It sounds like you lost someone close to you. It was a bad one. We fought through a lot together. The boy with a silver spoon in his mouth couldn't understand society's dark underbelly. Although honestly, I suppose he is right. I don't have anyone I can relate to in that way. Well, it's not as though I long for someone like that. Nor am I good at getting close. But tell me everything you know, for real. Detective Bad, I ask that you please testify once more about what happened in lobby number 2 and what you experienced in lobby number 1. Eyes are still the same. And this is the last time I'm going to do this. That's fine, because I only need one last time to clear everything up and find the truth behind this case. So start talking. I was in lobby number 1, talking with you. We were talking about some trivial things. I heard the gunshot right before the trial was about to reconvene. When I heard it, you and I immediately dashed out into the hallway together. I knew Gumshoe was goofing around there. We all ran to lobby number 2. It sounds like the exact same story he told us before. Indeed. However, I feel that we have yet to draw out all the information we can. I was in lobby number 1, talking to you. Hold it! Why did Miss Yu choose lobby number 1? Answer me! Who knows? Just said that just said you had something you wanted to talk to me about. And we walked into lobby number 2 together. That's all. So his answer remains the same as before. I see. You're talking about some trivial things. Hold it! I was hoping you could expand on what exactly you were discussing with Miss Yu. Trivial stuff. It's not important. That's for me to decide. Alright, I suppose that's for him to decide. Moving on then. I heard the gunshots right before the trial was about to begin.
Hold it!
Until you heard the gunshot, did you notice anything else that was out of the ordinary? I didn't hear any of the strange sounds until that gunshot. If the gunshot Detective Bad heard was really the one for the murder, that would give the other piece of evidence an entirely different meaning. I ask that you please amend your testimony with that statement just now. Sure. I didn't hear any other strange sounds to that gunshot.
Hold it!
Detective Bad, you honestly don't remember hearing anything else? Yeah. Is it possible you were so involved with your conversation that you missed something? I've been a detective for a long time, and even if I were involved in something, I got quite a habit of keeping tabs on everything that goes around. If there had been some other strange sound, you can be sure I would have heard it. Huh. I suppose with this detective that's probably very likely. The gunshot. When we heard it, you and I immediately dashed out of the hallway together.
Hold it!
And why did the two of you dash out of the hallway straight away? Because we clearly heard the sound of a gunshot. And we knew it came from somewhere nearby. And how did you know that it was a gunshot? In my line of work, you hear enough of it to know. I suppose it's only natural for a detective to know what a real gunshot sounds like. But given the circumstances, the only person I could think of whose life would have been in danger was Faraday. That's why I ran into the hallway right away and headed for where he was. That's how come she was goofing off there. Then we all ran to lobby number 2.
Hold it!
Detective Gumshoe was there in the hallway. Yeah. Why didn't you attest to that earlier? When I saw Gumshoe, it was after I heard the gunshot. Having seen him then didn't change the fact that he still could have done the deed. Ugh! It sounds exactly like what Detective Bad told us before. However, is there something in particular we should be asking the detective about? There just might be. No one knew that the knife was actually Anthony Barnes' key. Reflecting on that, perhaps there are other things that we now know, but Detective Bad doesn't yet. Yes, that should be my angle of attack. He doesn't know everything that happened. So therefore, didn't hear any strange sounds other than the gunshot. However, did you not hear this?
Objection!
Detective Bad, does this balloon fragment remind you of anything? It's the same color as the one Kay was holding. Oh, so you knew about the ghost balloon? Yeah, I was sitting up with her in the gallery. During the recess, just before we split up, I filled that balloon up for her. Well, as I'm sure you already surmised, this piece did indeed come from Kay's balloon. So, we're at the balloon. I wonder if you might remember hearing this balloon pop at some point? What do you mean? This fragment was found in the hallway, right in front of lobby number 2. Furthermore, it was the sound of this balloon popping that the judge mistook for a gunshot. The sound of that judge heard was not actually a gunshot. On top of that, His Honor said that he heard the balloon pop, and 20 minutes before the trial was about to reconvene. Which means that His Honor heard the balloon pop in the hallway when you were in lobby number 1, Detective Bad. And if you were in lobby number 1 at the time, you were close enough that you should have been able to hear the balloon popping as well. So, don't give me a so! We just proved that there's a flaw in your testimony! The crackling of the truth is louder than the sound of their sweet naivety cracking. And since you kids don't seem to know, let me fill you in on something. Did you ever stop to think why the doors and walls of this place seem so rugged? That's because they were designed to keep secrets from being leaked. Hold it! What's that supposed to mean? The doors and walls are super thick. Window panes are double layered. To top it all off, even the curtains are made of special sound-absorbing material. Then you mean... Since I was shut up inside lobby number 1, there was no way I could have heard that sound. No! I knew I knew that's what he was going to say. But that must mean the scruff face's testimony is completely useless. If the rooms are soundproof, then of course he wouldn't hear a sound of a struggle. No! That's also why it's only natural that I didn't hear the balloon pop. How do you get it, kids? Miles, I thought we were supposed to be the ones finding flaws in his logic. Not the other way around. The other way around? It's not possible to hear the sound of the balloon popping if one were in lobby number 1. However, if we examine this situation in reverse, a person standing in the hallway should not have been able to hear a real gunshot either. And yet Detective Gumshoe claims to have heard it while he was standing in the hallway. Detective Bad, if that were the case, how exactly did you hear the gunshot? What do you mean, how? I just did. It would appear that you have yet to realize a contradiction in your own words. Oh, yes. If the rooms are as soundproof as you say they are, then how did the sound of the gunshot enter your ears? I see what you mean. I guess I'm more out of it than Faraday's murder than I thought. Which means that, what exactly, Miles? In the end, what does it all boil down to? It boils down to this. There must be a reason as to how Detectives Bad and Gumshoe heard a gunshot they theoretically couldn't have. It feels that we need to examine the state of the crime scene again, huh? The state of the crime scene? Wait, can it be? It's the ultra-strong perfume you wears. You spilled some of it. Ugh! Way too noisy! The surveillance video? How could a piece of evidence just disappear? Where did it go? Let's think about this for a moment. She spilled some perfume in lobby number 1. And so we opened the door immediately. But there's also the door that was open in lobby number 2. It's simply not possible for the killer to have escaped through the barred windows. And yet, the fragrance of the perfume managed to escape from defendant lobby number 1. Of course, incorporeal things move freely through open barred windows. But if we think about it, the very loud television that was earlier is set to an incredibly high volume. And we haven't really seen that missing tape afterwards. No. Maybe that's not it. Maybe I'm thinking too far ahead. But putting these together. What else besides smell can go through, or goes in and out of the open barred window? But sound. So no matter how careful the killer was, if the windows were open, the jig would be up. And since the windows in both defendant lobby number 1 and the hallway were open, it explains how the sound of the gunshot can be heard in both locations. Which finally brings these two together. That loud gunshot and the video. The missing piece of evidence is a video. That shows the moment of which Mr. Rell killed the embassy staff member. The sound of the gunshot left quite an impression on me when it was played during the trial. The video should have been returned to Mr. Faraday's evidence bag for the recess, and brought back here. If it disappeared after that time, then it's possible that the tape is still here in this room. Eureka! The evidence that is missing, the evidence that the missing evidence created for me is the gunshot sound that no one should have been able to hear in the first place. Miles, what have you been thinking? Stop wasting time thinking and let's start looking again. It's not a waste of time to think, for I have figured out where we should look. And where would that be? I believe we should examine the television. TV. Well, you kids have fun. Go ahead and examine whatever you like. And so we shall. The television was really loud. However, it's a video player. There seems to be a videotape inside. It looks like it. The tape must have stopped on its own after reaching the end. This tape. Could it not be the missing surveillance tape? I suppose, but... Detective Bat, would it be alright with you if we verify the contents of this video? Sure. Knock yourselves out. Alright, let's rewind this and see what we have. If I remember correctly, the footage of Rell's killing the embassy staff member Should be at about 30-minute mark. Sit on the tape. Understood. This should be about right. Now let's see. This is the footage of Mr. Rell shooting the embassy staff member. I knew it. The missing piece of evidence. The surveillance video was here all along. This sound. What's the meaning of this? It appears Detective Bad has figured out the true source of the gunshot he heard. With this, I think we can figure out the trick behind this double murder. Do you mean that you figured it all out then? Yes, all I have to do now is show what the gunshot Detectives Bad and Gumshoe heard was, and through where they heard it from. Fine, if that's the case, show me what you deduced. Show what they heard was, and through where they heard it from. Earlier when Detective Gumshoe touched this, it made a most terrible racket. You mean when Scruffy turned on the television, right? Actually, come to think of it, I don't think Detective Gumshoe actually touched the television at all. Furthermore, it seemed more like when a video feed suddenly stops. At least it did to me. I wonder where that is. The window. Just with the spilled perfume in lobby number 1, if the windows were open, the piece of evidence's sound would also dissipate out. To show what the gunshot Detective Bad heard was, and through where they heard it from. The window. And through the video. If the door and windows of the crime scene, namely this room that we're in, is closed, the killer could have used the gun, and no one would have been the wiser. That's true. The courthouse does seem well designed for such a thing as it were. However, what happened in reality was, Detective Gumshoe, Detective Bad, and Miss Yu, all three of them heard the gunshot. Well, the windows in lobby number 1, number 2, and the hallway were open. So naturally, the people in his locations could hear it. Ah, but then why would the criminal open the windows in the first place? To allow the gunshot to be heard, I suppose. Correct. That's the only logical conclusion we can draw from this. But why is it necessary in the first place? I want the real answer, Miles. I demand satisfaction. Very well. I believe that the killer wanted to manipulate our perception of a certain fact. He wanted to manipulate when it took place. The killer wanted to fabricate the time of death to their precise wishes, and they used the gunshot in the surveillance video to do so. So that's why the tape was left running. You mean the gunshot I heard was from this video? Yes, which means that the murders really occurred at the earlier time than we thought. It must have been during the recess, but before Detective Gumshoe was on guard duty. Someone who has no alibi for this time period, and planned this crime out in advance. That person is the real criminal. Mr. Edgeworth! Yes, what is it? Miss Yu is asking for you. She's in the courtroom. She said that she identified the murderer, but that she wants to clarify something. It looks like Miss Yu is still investigating something. Understood. Please tell her that I'll be right over. I'll come along. I want to hear what she has to say. It would appear that the time has come to uncover the truth. And so shall we go. This is Miles Edgeworth Investigations on Luigi Van 64D. And see you next time, because we're about to go unveil this killer. See you next time.